Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you at our forum, the panel discussion, Growing High-Tech Companies, Competition Between Countries and Megacities. Today we are speaking about the economic development in the conditions of the pandemic that is spreading across the whole world. And many countries have adopted programs of economic recovery that highlight the role of high-tech companies that are supported by governments. Moscow is a central focal point of intellectual high-tech potential of Russia. And so today we are going to talk about Moscow's competitiveness as a megacity on an international arena. And we'll try to answer the questions that are posed by the time. What are the success factors that help to grow high-tech companies? What are the bottlenecks? Also, we're going to talk about government support, and we will learn about successful international practices. Let me introduce our speakers. Oksana Tarasenko, Deputy Minister of Economic Development of the Russian Federation. Anatoly Valentov, Head of Moscow Innovation Cluster Foundation. Natalya Popova, First Deputy Director General of Innopraktika, Public Ombudsman on Protection of Rights of High-Tech Companies. Albert Usmanov, S8 Capital. I'm very glad to greet you. So also a Zoom participant is Lichubu, Chief Executive Officer of Itramas Corporation. It's a leading Malaysian company involved in green energy solutions, and they'll tell about their success story. Also, we have Mr. Krasny, Bakor Innovative Center. Alexander, glad to greet you. Also, we have a Zoom participant. It's an ordinary trend. It's not because of the pandemic. It's just the future that has become our present. Mikhail Levchuk, Executive Director of Argus Spectrum. So we're glad to greet you. First of all, I'd like to look into the economic development, discussing some global issues. We understand that high-tech companies is one of the very powerful drivers of economic growth. So we'd like to give floor to Oksana Tarasenko, Deputy Minister of Economic Development. We'd like to ask you, how do you focus on developing high-tech companies in the Ministry of the Economy? Victoria, thank you very much for your question. First of all, I'd like to greet all the forum participants, and we're just discussing with Natalya that it's one of the first big events, Stolypin Forum. So we're very glad to meet people and to have face-to-face meetings. So recently, President Putin said that Russia is a country with great technological potential rather than just a supply of oil and gasoline, as many countries think. So the pandemic has detected a lot of bottlenecks. At the same time, we've had some success stories. My department is responsible for innovations. And we measure the level of growth of high-tech companies. We develop our own register. And during the pandemics, we held a number of events that helped us to identify needs of the high-tech companies. For us, high-tech company is a huge driver of economic growth and a challenge at the same time, no matter what is the stage of its development, whether it's just a startup at its early stage of development, or it's just a medium-sized business, or a national champion and a national leader. All companies need our support, and I don't mean only money, funds. It's not the only thing the government can provide to a company, because there are lots of non-financial measures of support. Let me show you a slide. We just have made an analysis of a growth level and what are the institutes of growth that are making investments. We are working on a seamless elevator tool. Those companies that have received the government support should be supported in future, should continue to receive the government support, to receive grants that help it to enter the export markets. Recently, the federal law on artificial intelligence has been adopted, and we also stipulated some conditions of support. For example, through the Bortnik Foundation, we are going to support about 60 companies, high-tech companies. Also, the law will help to support pilot projects on artificial intelligence through Skolko format. As you know, regulatory framework is a very important issue. Recently, this summer, another law was passed on, or some amendments into the law on research. With regards to the expert opinions, expertise, and the government money spent. In the past, we didn't have a portfolio approach. Now it has been introduced. So what does it mean? For example, we have invested 10 rubles, and the investment return should be 10 rubles plus 1. And if in your investment portfolio 5 projects have been a success and 5 a failure, then we'll just calculate the investment returns and we'll continue our support to the successful ones. So bona fide investors and entrepreneurs would be protected in terms of the procedures, guidelines, regulatory framework. And we believe that it's a huge step forward because it will make the whole system more transparent, the system of investments and government support. Also, we are working with the tool of regulatory guillotine. The regulatory oversight is becoming weaker, and businessmen would be more relaxed, will feel more comfortable. Another important step, tax incentives, stimuli. We are planning to set up innovational centers. They may be regarded as an infrastructure project or a point of growth or just a commercialization of success stories accumulated by research centers and universities. So we provide a full legal framework, starting with taxes and ending with the construction of urban areas. Next slide, please. These are the applications we have received. The Moscow University Valley. We are actively engaged with the Moscow University. Another project, Sirius, RHTU. These are valleys which are already open. And green square color shows the applications received, and some educational and research centers in these areas are already open and successfully and operate successfully. So we coordinate our activities with the Ministry of Education and with educational centers. So the Innovational Valley means the development of research, the support of startups with good infrastructure that facilitates the development of high-tech companies. National champions, another important project. We launched it in the Ministry of the Economy. They are not startups, they are leaders in the industry, but they still continue to need the state support.
Because the average business shouldn't be just lived, but it's developing very fast. And in order to become giants, of course, we need to follow them, to support them, to detect them. And this project was before in the Ministry of Economic Development. And today, mutually, we have developed association for the fast-growing technological companies with the expert support Innopraktika. And today, its association unite the national champions. And we actively participated with the Ministry of Economy in this difficult time of pandemic. And we looked about the effect of the future effect of the highly developed companies. And so one of the most important events happened in 2019. So it was on the base of the Institute on the President of the Russian Federation. It was a position Ombudsman, so of the technological leaders, to protect rights of technological leaders. Natalya Valerievna will tell us about these, the companies. We cooperate with them in terms of program of cooperative development. As you know, this project was launched, and it's not only for development of innovations, but also for development them, to distribute it in the holdings. Of course, all companies understand they can't be competitive without stimulus of the development of the technological aspect. And we have considered about KPA. This is the innovative project for the management, and we search this and we evaluate this and make ratings. And to sum it up, to conclusion, I would like to tell about cooperation with the external colleagues. For example, the USA, let's say they just made sanctions against one Chinese company. What does it mean? Is it state support for them, or it's not government support for them? It's quite a discussional issue, but they promote their leaders, I would say. Thank you. Thank you. Just quite bright conclusion, Oksana. Thank you very much. And you mentioned that high-tech business, it's easier to develop in such, let's say, concentration, in such cluster, and a center of the advanced technologies and intellectual potential. In Russia, of course, it's Moscow and Moscow regions, and it's interesting how Moscow innovative cluster is being developed and why exactly cluster is needed, what it gives to the companies, how it helps company for development, and what conditions, what infrastructure has been built and what needed to be developed. So, Anatoly Dmitrievich, we want your answer. Thank you very much. So today is good day and ideal for the video because it's bright light. Thank you very much, MGIMO University, because in our fund a lot of graduates from MGIMO University, and they are one of the best employees. As far as for the cluster, I would like to tell you, so it's such kind of vision project by Semyon Semyonovich, who presented this project by the end of 2007 to our president. So the idea was to create innovative cluster, but we don't mean it's a mobile place with construction. No, it was different conception. Conception was in Moscow, its concentration, many different innovative players, and a huge potential for the city. Of course, the city has great potential, but not always this cooperation effective between the players, and this digital platform is targeted to unite all these players and to improve their cooperation. So improve the technologies, needs cooperation, communication between the partners. We are a new project, and we started only August or September last year, so we are almost 1 year old. So, but we call ourselves startup, and our platform is innovation in itself. But we already can make some conclusions, some results of our activity. And today we will speak a lot about the megapolises, about the megacities, their roles. And of course, platform will be developed further. It will be further evolutions. So, and I want all of you to go on our platform and look at our service and try them, use them. So, and we already experienced big demand from the regional companies. And it's clear because our region has a lot of industrial companies and manufacturers and industrial companies, so different capacities. That's why we made access for the registration, including companies from our regions, and now we have grown up to 16,000. So it's a big trend, it's a big growth. Our platform has different services and support services and integrators which help to select between the Moscow support measures and federal measures and institutional measures of support. So, and we all mentioned crisis, COVID. It's very important to tell that our action was very fast on it. So, and we already spoken about this digital access entrance card. So, just took us several days to implement those functionality, which really did a great help for all companies and people. And it was a grant. You heard about this. It was hundreds of applications requested this, and billions was granted, and it's very important for us that we reacted very fast. Being online, we could request those support, subsidiaries, grants. So it was very easy. Sitting on the sofa, you could request for the support. So, but different types of support and employees training and etc. So as far as for the digital platform, it's a complex of company support. And of course, offline is needed here too. And we launched together with different corporations, technological competition, such as program Moscow Accelerator. One project is for the accelerator. It's mostly educational project for the companies, training, technological part. It comes from the company's request, and in every complex we collect different corporations and made pilot projects. Also this investment fund. So on the first technological complex we made together with Hunter Killers. And it was guaranteed investment for the participants of the technological complex. It's everything. It's about innovations, HR projects. So I already mentioned financial measures. So I would like also to mention supervisory. Federal Minister Oksana Valerievna was on our first supervisory committee in July last year. So it was like face-to-face, first face-to-face. We also have expert committee. Natalya Valerievna is one of the members of this committee. So here many speakers related to these projects. And of course, it's financial measures of support, program development, digital services. And we concentrate not only urban resources, administrative resources, and informational resources all together, which is very important for developing and promoting small companies. And we unite those distributed players around our services, as well as the big companies and the private companies, scientific universities. So in other words, our task is creating useful help and cooperate all those players in innovative systems. Thank you very much. And now we come to speak with experts as far as the immune system in the world economy, in the economy, Russian economy, how it can work. We need to start with the diagnostic. And first we need to understand where we are in our now. So it's very interesting to know the expertise, how today it happens, the measures of protection, of support. And I would like to give a floor to Natalya Popova. Natalya Valerievna, please tell us what is done in this sphere, because from the beginning of pandemic, we spoke a lot to support entrepreneurs, small and medium enterprises, what exactly support we need. Not only financial support, what else is needed, what we do now, what we need to work on. Thank you very much. So let me start from two blocks. First, I would like to tell why high-tech is important. It's important, how many experts say, because we are at the stage of the first industrial revolution, and COVID has revealed many problems. And now it's clear that the fast-reacting companies with the fast growth, high-tech companies, they can help to overcome this crisis and mitigate the circumstances. And it's indeed, they have proved incredible results. So the companies with this fast-growing, high-tech growth, they can ensure this economy drive. And indeed, they have the parameters which demonstrate importance for the economy of these parameters. As far as for my people, national champions, the companies have selected in priorities of Ministry of Economic Development. There are 84 of them, but they proved the fast growth, and it's 18% per year annually growth, and 8% contribution to research and development, and the realization of the production is about 43%, and the share of the export revenue approximately 20%, but some company showed more than 50%. So in other words, these are companies with the great potential for the economy, and with the proper support which is actually done the Ministry of Economic Development in Moscow and in other regions. With such kind of support, this company can be grown up to the non-raw material experts. So this company can show more than $1 billion. So, like unicorns, like they are called in the West, but this company can become a basis of our non-raw economy. And why it's important to make those measures exactly now? Oksana already mentioned this company in the middle of the chain. This company work in this segment, not B2C, they work in B2B or B2G segment. And the impact of coronavirus, it's like delayed impact. And exactly now they feel this impact. And that's why exactly now these measures of support is very need for them now. So, and why this government need to support those companies? Because our economy has some kind of specific. Yesterday, for example, on the plenary session, so it was discussion about whether the government should be involved in the economy. And of course, we all learned Adam Smith. And we understand that the government shouldn't be involved. Shouldn't be involved to the companies in the economy, but the state can impact to the market conjuncture because this share of sector in GDP up to 73%. It's quite significant player, and the government with the support, with the purchasing can contribute very significant share. For example, the share of expenses in GDP in research and development, so quite big amount of GDP. But in South Korea, 5% of GDP, in the USA, 3%, but in our country, it's 0.9 from GDP. But the general expenses for research and development government experience 70%, and only 40% comes for the companies. So it's distortions. So if you look at the Chinese experience here, it will be very different proportion. 30% comes for the state sector, so for the research and development, and 70% will come for the private companies. But the most important and interesting in these statistics is only 2% of the company gets 2% for research and development. So these 70% just disappears somewhere. So in other words, companies can't get their support. Here we need to work on in order to provide the proper support. And having analyzed the Western experience, we need to just copy it because it's different conjuncture, different market. But there are some regimes, some things which could be copied, can be used here, like pre-commercial public procurement of innovative solutions, when the government is the first like purchaser and to buy innovative production. Regimes, patent box, innovative box in European countries, when the revenue from the realization of intellectual property so has the lower rate on the income tax. So, for example, in UK there is regime, so 50-box regime, future 50 regime, when the government selects 50 best companies and provide target support for those companies. And judging from what we can provide, we discussed it with Oksana Valerievna. So the project, priority of Ministry of Economic Development, national champions, this project is over in 2019. Probably it's worth doing the similar project at the ministry level, because here it's very important to unite not only Ministry of Economic Development, but also Ministry of Industry. So, because such company has to work in complex with all types of ministries. Another important issue which we work on, so companies of some technological segment is out of this support, because so to small and medium enterprises, they grew from it and they can't get those support. So that's why either we need to increase that level, let it be about 4 billion rubles, so like the similar like in the world level, and the employment 250 people employed in the company, from the 50 to 250 up to 500. So and then these measures of support for SME can be applied for the companies of high-tech sector. As far as for the financial access, many companies, when we work with the national champions, they complain about on lack of financing. Of course, it's clear about these complaints, but as far as for development of the financial products for this segment, it will be very desirable. For example, we worked on web from Bank, the measures of support and company subsidiaries. So these rates not lower than central bank rates. So, and the loans, the credit, distribution of money, web could be like an umbrella guarantee for these type of measures. So, and to make it, let's say, for a long time, let's say 7-10 years, to buy innovative equipment to develop technological lines. And one more thing I would like to say about measures of support, this regulatory work, for example, tax regulatory. We know how difficult for the companies to get, so like to make the expenses for the research and development. And that's in 2018, about 1,000 of companies applied for this rate, and only 50 companies managed to get this coefficient, and they faced many problems. As soon as you request that rate, that coefficient, so there is additional attraction from the tax offices, vigilance offices, control, so and the company can get more difficulties than preferences. And if to make analogy with the big businesses who has its tax office, it would be good to create its own tax offices for SME. For example, research and development coefficient, technological activity, so it has a particular relationship, because tax office can't be on the same level with the food, street, or high-tech companies, so it should be different types of tax offices. And it should be very special attention, because it's our future and we need to develop very specific targeted measures, because some of those measures was already implemented by our colleagues, and I'm very glad to tell about this. Before going to the session, I looked news and I saw there is credit loan for the intellectual property. So Ms. Bank already provided such kind of loan, and it's good news. And I think street food, shawarma, and probably and other companies, high-tech companies, who could combine it, because we say about technology development. And for example, our air now, it's about 3,500 users are watching now, and it doesn't matter that we're sitting here. And thank you very much from GIMO for this good organization, this comfortable halls, comfortable tent, and the fresh air. But we have a very high interest for our subject. And today we also speak about competition, megapolises, countries. And here we would like to understand the type of new city to compete at the level of the world capital. And here I would like to give a floor Alberto Osmanov. Tell us about city of the service, what this.
Today, now, we are going to listen to some very interesting suggestions and proposals that are being introduced into life. We are going to talk about trends that cannot be avoided in future, whether we are coming through the pandemics or not. First, I'd like to share global megatrends that define the fate, the destiny of other megacities. We are a pioneer in this country, in Russia. And so I'd like to talk about the key points. The city has to become a consumer. So we're talking about smart things, measurement units, control, not over citizens, but over output, production units. Digital sales, digital technologies development, and we know what we're talking about because we've just come through this change of mindsets when we started using digital technologies. And people, for example, wanted to have better service, digital service, when they wanted a delivery of food, for example. They were in the beginning of the pandemic, they were ready to wait for 1 hour and a half. In the end, only about 10-15 minutes. So I'd like to show you matrix of megatrends. These are not just simple, empty words. For example, like urban developers say, let's build trams. We need to somehow balance demand and supply. If an employee spends or wastes more than 1 hour and a half for trafficking, it means economic losses for the whole country. So we need to make the whole life more efficient, and it will make the economy more efficient, it will raise labor productivity and improve quality of life. So the key is the development of connected life. And we have to create key clusters. First, to connect buildings, offices, apartments, houses. Second, internet or remote work, and access to services through internet. And third, the most important point is the connection of the whole city to the grid or network. Here we can talk about electronic citizens, and we need the development of special devices, measurement units. For example, the removal of waste in the morning in big cities. There are special waste bins that have to be emptied early in the morning. And so it's just an example of good organization of logistics. If it's done in the right way, the costs will be reduced. Another example is, for example, fight against gas leakage. All these things are quite cheap, but they can monitor the urban situation in a very efficient and not expensive way. Just a monitor who controls the whole situation doesn't wait for complaint calls. Just uses devices, smart devices that show how the situation is developing. So there are various devices: voice recognition, face recognition, touch recognition, which are quite popular in China. For example, in China, you do not have to stand in line. You just use your device or device in a shop, and you just smile or touch, and you don't have to stand in line. So it improves the level of digitalization. So I'd like to repeat Oksana Valerievna's phrase: support, it's not always money or funding. City as a service for businesses means providing services for businessmen. Of course, they also cost money, but we need to provide logistical support and other kinds of support. And the city can provide a lot of services. For example, where to locate an office near various other offices. So look into the Leninsky Avenue. It's not well. The offices are not well located there. There are many offices and no cafes, for example. So the city can help to choose a good location for a specific type of business. And if the location is good, the business will be a success story. Another trend is gamification. Gamification does not relate only to gaming. It's just an approach to life. For example, payments for utilities. You can use this approach of gamification. You have to create a loyalty program. You pay a year in advance, and you'll get some bonuses. You may use your telephone applications. You may get access to consumption in general of energy, and the comparison who consumes less or more, and so it becomes a sort of a game. It becomes interesting, and so games is one of the important parts of entertainment, and it helps people to get involved in some basic things that they didn't pay attention to in the past. The next stage, the analysis of big data. Big cities can accumulate the biggest amounts of data, big data, and the city may earn on the data accumulation and their analysis. Over the last year, we have accumulated over 90% of all big data. It happened during the last 2 years. It will help to create new services. It will help people to get tested, to avoid traffic jams, a lot of small things that make our life better, that improves the quality of life. And it also can improve the quality of life of businesses, because the businesses cannot survive without data management. If it doesn't do it, it will go bust. So sometimes businesses do not get access to big data, and we need to develop these servers that will help facilitate access for businesses. One more important point is clusters of technological experience that are located in various cities within a framework of various industries or cities, because we had such a distribution during the Soviet times. Some industries were located in specific cities. Now we need to combine the potential of these cities and to create new clusters. For example, space technologies, automatization. For example, China doesn't have such a notion as utilities debts, because in Shanghai they integrated meters together with the wallets. So there is no utility debt at all because of such digital integration. It helps to raise a financial discipline, and citizens understand that if you do not pay, you will get disconnected.
So let's continue. And to tell shortly the resume, how it can help and how it distributes in terms of money. So I have concluded several moments. For example, the transportation infrastructure. If we look at the data of Fund of Social Insurance, we know that 75% of Russians, when they ill, they don't have sickness list. So, but if there is a serious disease, then they can go to work, because they are afraid to be sacked from the job, dismissed. So then it's important. Let's think how using smart decision we can improve situation, we can solve this problem, how we can solve the situation when to tell person come to doctor, even if you don't have time. So, and this smart solution which can be integrated even from the hospitals, it could help to solve some issues. Of course, cancer is not important. It's not possible to treat from the distant medicine, but some basic things before you go to the specialist, you can solve online and to save time. So, again, to sum it up, here I would like to underline several things which I believe most important. So the new trading is integrated due to city data in the targeted places, and it's related to digitalization and supply chain, and this is cooperation between enterprises and cities. It's transition given the global trends in economy. Most to the countries BRICS, I remind you, and most important, so your smart city, because it helps the consumer to understand what is going on. Thank you very much. Thank you. And now we discuss competition in the world arena. So, and in other countries, so about the drivers of the world economy. So, and here I would like to introduce you to your attention. I would like you, IT Rama General Director Corporation, so Malaysian company, so innovative with the 20 years of storing the green energy, innovative on energy sector. And we give a floor and would like to see Lee Chu-gu, Mr. Lee Chu-gu.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is C.B. Lee. I'm the CEO and Group Managing Director of Itramas Corporation based in Malaysia. First and foremost, I hope you have had a very fruitful forum so far, and I would like to take the opportunity here to thank the organizer of the Stolypin Forum for inviting me here to speak. I'm indeed honored to be able to do so. Now, I've been given 5 questions, and I will address each of the questions in turn. The first one relates to Itramas, our innovations and what we have invented, developed and implemented, and also the business ideas that we have realized. Itramas was founded in 1999, and we are now a 20-year-old company. In fact, we celebrated our 20th anniversary just 2 months ago. The company is into 4 sectors. Number 1 is renewable energy, where we focus primarily on the solar space. And second, on energy efficiency, where we are pretty much vertically integrated. And we do product manufacturing all the way to installation, operation, and energy performance contracting. Thirdly, we are into electronic manufacturing, where we manufacture LED-related products, display, and products for the automotive and telecommunications sector. And last but not least, we are into smart city as well, where we implement smart street lighting, solar-powered street lighting, as well as IoT, telecommunication, control and command center projects, and lately cybersecurity as well. In this area, we have been in collaboration with some high-tech Russian companies very successfully over the last few years. Now, we've been named the most innovative renewable energy company in Malaysia for year 2020 by APAC Business Headlines, based in Hong Kong. And this came about also partly because of the development of 150 megawatt large-scale solar plants by us, which achieved commercial operation date in 2017, and the plants are now in operation. We won several international awards for innovation in project financing back in 2016 when we structured the financing to support the project. The model was unique in the sense that the 3 power plants of 50 megawatt each were ring-fenced individually, so that any negative impact on one plant will not affect the other plants. At that time, this was a totally greenfield project, and investors were concerned about risk and wanted to make sure that we had good risk mitigation plans. So therefore, we wanted to make sure that the 3 plants were all kept separate and would not affect one another should we have a negative impact somehow for any one of the plant. At the same time, there was also a minimum amount of money that would be attractive to investors. So what we did was essentially to form a holding company and then pool the funding for all the 3 plants into a single issuance to make it more attractive to investors. In constructing these 3 plants, green bond framework methodology was also followed, resulting in the project receiving the highest rating of dark green shading from CICERO, or the Center for International Climate Research, based in Oslo, Norway. The result is that the company won the prestigious Independent Power Producer of the Year, as well as Power Utility of the Year awards in Malaysia, given by Asian Power Awards based in Singapore. Secondly, we also developed a model that we call managed services to assist cities and municipal councils to convert to energy efficient LED public lighting. Here, we specifically designed the products to last for 15 years and raise the necessary financing to pay for the capital expenditure over this tenure. And the clients then repay through a fixed stream service fees for the recovery of the capital expenditure, and this is through their electricity and maintenance cost savings. So we do not just design the products and invest in R&D and innovation at the product level. We also look at ways to assist our customers, our clients, by coming up with innovative go-to-market model to make it easier for them to transform and to move towards high-tech products. Secondly, is the impact of ITRAMAS on the country's economy. Of course, the biggest contribution to the Malaysian economy was actually the issuance of our $260 million green SRI Sukuk back in 2016. As I mentioned earlier, this was done to finance the simultaneous construction of 3 large-scale solar plants of 50 megawatt each, covering a total land area of 600 acres. At the time during the construction, we engaged or employed a total of 1,500 workers. First, I would also like to explain a little bit about the green SRI Sukuk for those of you who are not familiar. Malaysia has one of the largest, if not the largest, Sukuk or Islamic bond market in the world. At the time, the green SRI Sukuk was a major initiative backed by our central bank and also World Bank to basically demonstrate to the investing public and institutions that Islamic bonds or Sukuk can be aligned with the principles of green, responsible, and sustainable principle. The Itramas large-scale solar project became the first successful 1 billion ringgit project to demonstrate and achieve this goal. So this set the stage for the subsequent issuance of Green SRI Sukuk. The project itself created 3,000 jobs, generates electricity for 90,000 households, and also reduces 93,000 metric tons of carbon per year. So this is significant. Thirdly, what measures of state support have we got, and whether I consider them sufficient or efficient. On the whole, Malaysia has a long history of support for high-tech industries in general. The country is presently the leading manufacturer of specialized process and automation equipment for the electrical and electronic industry in the Southeast Asian region. This actually began to take shape during the 1970s when many major multinationals, especially from the US, from Europe, from Japan, began to put their manufacturing operations in Penang, which is an island located in the northern part of peninsular Malaysia. And with its strategic location, young English-speaking workforce, government policies that were investment and business-friendly, good infrastructure, as well as political stability and well-developed legal framework, Malaysia became a sort of a magnet for high-tech multinational companies to relocate their manufacturing operations here to take advantage of the lower labor costs and gateway to the huge Southeast Asian market. So Penang soon became known as the Silicon Valley of the East. 1996 marked the entry of the country into the global shift into the ICT era with the setup of the Multimedia Development Corporation, or MDEC, as the lead agency to implement the Multimedia Super Corridor, or MSC initiative. A slew of incentives like tax holidays, grants, as well as administrative support, guarantees, and technical assistance were put in place. To date, over 2,900 companies have been accorded MSC status. Of course, Itramas is one of them. And a total of $100 billion in revenue have also been generated, and 193,000 jobs created since the inception of MDEC until today. Now, with the advent of Industry 4.0, MDEC has been renamed Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, focusing on the key drivers of empowering Malaysians with digital skills, enabling digitally powered business, and driving digital content and steering them towards embracing digitalization, enhancing e-commerce, and adopting 5G technology. So this shows that the government is pretty proactive in providing support to innovative high-tech companies. What I've just described, MDEC is just one of the agencies that the government has set up. Of course, there are many other initiatives, and in the interest of time, I will not be able to cover all of them. But you can also check with the Ministry of Industry and also Ministry of Science, for example, on the various initiatives that the government has put in place. The next question relates to the pandemic.
We'll thank Mr. Lee Chubu. He talked about the state support measures of high-tech companies. Now, let's look into the Russian experience.
So I would like to give a floor to the Executive Director of MTC Bakur, Alexander Krasny. Alexander Borisovich, please tell us how you manage to keep this 30 years of innovation. Scientific center demonstrate the sustainable growth, sustainable strategy of development. Tell us the technologies, how you implemented them, and what is the key factor of success, and tell us about support, because we already have spoken that the government should help, and your opinion. Good afternoon. Does it work? Yes. Be careful with moving chair. I know. Good afternoon, everyone. So I have listened Albert and understand that life is in reliable hands. And as far as for these discussions, we are a very successful example because on several reasons. This is my chair. Please help me. I want to sit reliably. Successful example. Why we're a successful example? Because we are participants of all mentioned clusters and organizations, innovative cluster, industrial Moscow cluster, and participant of national champions. Everything was mentioned. We participant of these clubs. And the second thing which can illustrate your questions. We were quite skeptical to the idea of the external support. We were quite skeptical for this. We managed to do everything by our own, and we never relied on somebody and didn't expect external help. But what is important to understand, we are an innovative company. In all its meaning, because innovation is a subject of our business. And a long time ago, 30 years ago, some students who are watching us probably were not born that time, 30,000 years ago when we started. And that was the time when it was end of the Soviet Union. And we started as a specialized laboratory in the ceramic sphere, And our competence, the main competence was scientific knowledge. And getting to the market economy when you can do only science, because our organization did science only. Only science for 20 years, technological solutions, scientific research and work, and we have done about 150 scientific patents, but it was not that innovative. Because I've learned the characteristic of innovation. One of them is scaling. These 20 years, we have created potential, innovative potential, and the next step is scaling of those. But it wasn't big scaled at that time. It's only 8 years ago we decided that we need something to change in order to continue our growth, in order to move further, and we have analyzed all the set of innovations which we have done, and we selected the most prospect one. And due to our own efforts, we thought we could do this commercialization, we can do and go in market, we could expand those niche. And for today, there are 5 of them, and we can read on the slide. 5 of them, but it seems they're not really related between each other, but in reality, they all come from one own root. It's quite implementive technologies. And the idea, the strategy which was accepted, helped us for these 8 years of realization grew 5 times more. And we continue to realize this idea, and we expect growth in 2.5 times. And what else important about this idea of diversification? It helps us to go through all crises very comfortably. We already experienced 4 crises of the recent years, and we managed to overcome them. And we move comfortably. Without negative impact, and my presentation, that's why I named my presentation 30 years of sustainable growth. So these are strategy, this is principle of the organization of work to generate continuous innovative stream. So we have more than 0.8% because we are very focused on research and development, really eager on this. And we have a lot of young and talented specialists and experts working on it. And we always have ideas and startups which can be developed and invested. So we have in our portfolio. And the second part is diversification, which I already mentioned, and it also helps us a lot. So we create an innovative environment, and we integrate it in all mentioned organizations. And it's by chance, it wasn't our stubborn idea. We just looked at that and we realized we're suitable for those projects. So because it's for us structured environment where we can have our place and develop ourselves. So this project work on research and design we do by our own forces, we attract other providers, and also we do external environment, like our colleagues do some kind of business incubator, which we create around us, but it's not in Moscow, because here in Moscow there is no place for us. So we do it in Vologda city. We have acquired quite big machinery enterprises with the big capacities, and we create our environment there. So, and we always have ideas of the new talented scientists and perspectives, but it's needed a long investment cycles and need development, finishing development. And the second part of our approach is the diversification. So, which we do on the direction, on the spheres, on the industries. So, diversification of investments, and it's very important because we live in the turbulence time. So it's important to make diversification of scenarios. So from the beginning, it wasn't really interest for the financial tools because everything was planned, let's say, at least for 7 years ahead. And any development of situation could be prognosed and overcome. So this is the answer for a question. Support. So we didn't expect to use support, and also we decided that for us in Moscow it's not very comfortable place for work because it's high prices for real estate, high taxes, high costs of working place. And what we like, we don't dismiss people, we dismiss no one person in the crisis. But we want to be competitive, we want to optimize and improve our processes. That's why we decided to arrange part of our business, operating business in Tula region. And we started cooperation with our colleagues, units, and we were offered to look at the subject, so to become an industrial complex part. What it means. So it will be decreased, the taxes on income taxes, real estate taxes, properties taxes, so the range of preferences. And having analyzed this, we understood the pros and cons. And when we were ready with the decision, we offered a proposal to make our final decision. And as soon as
So we are starting to receive proposals and offers we even couldn't expect. A couple of years ago, we were quite skeptical about the government support because we're not as young as Albert, and we are grown-up people. We are quite skeptical about the state support, as we didn't have any positive experience. But when we started to interact with the state, with the government, we were quite surprised that the system has been already streamlined, the system of state support, and it really helps. So one of our priorities is expert. We cannot take part in all expert programs because some segments of our expert potential are countries with high risks, for example, Latin American countries. And the payment terms sometimes are quite tricky, and we didn't want to assume unnecessary risks. Okay, so I'm wrapping up my presentation. So we just received a support as state guarantees. It was an insurance of our debts, and we received expert cash back. We received the compensation of transport costs. So all this came on time. This support was very efficient, and we have managed to improve the areas of our activities and expand them. And the COVID crisis impact, we slowed down our operations because we save our investments in order to create a cushion, a security cushion. Some investment programs are shrinking. Of course, it's not a pleasant thing, but still, the government steps in and offers to finance some of these programs and gives us about 3 million rubles of investments, or sort of soft loans, non-interest soft loans, and we have to repay them in a quite comfortable, extensive period of time. So, summing up, wrapping up, we didn't expect, so we were very much surprised, and it was a pleasant surprise. Alexander Borisovich, you said that high-tech can develop in the economy of scales, and this economy of scale cannot be developed without the system of certification, of creating systemic approaches aimed at strategic growth. Now I'd like to give floor to Mikhail Levchuk, Executive Director of Argus Spectrum. This company managed to become a global leader in the production of wireless security systems and other innovative systems. Even the British Queen and the British Parliament, the Cambridge University, the Hermitage Museum buys the security systems from your company. So it's really a huge success story. Please tell us why it's so important to have a good certification system in order to be able to develop. Okay, I'll be brief, but I'll tell you just one important thing. I'll show you one slide, and you will realize that in the context of the territorial development, assessment of territorial attractivity, we need to focus on certification, because highly competitive markets, high-tech markets, are not about customs barriers. They are about certificates, which are received usually abroad. This is just an assessment how much a certificate costs. If a certificate is recognized abroad, and how many certificates should be in the company's portfolio? Dozens of certificates, huge capital investments, and an absolute lack of certification in Russia. Of course, entry into the market, the document will be issued by the national regulator, but the laboratories that are recognized abroad are not in place in Russia. So if we talk about the development of high-tech companies, if we want to develop specific territories and cities, we need to have such labs located in these territories. Labs, centers of certification, worldly recognized. For example, Finland assesses not the number of issued grants, but the number of obtained licenses and certificates, whether it's pharmaceuticals or medical equipment. It's a sign of quality and a sign of maturity of a project. So today, those colleagues who are present in physical presence, please pay attention to this very important instrument. Let's assess the results in terms of this parameter. Then this shows that the Russian reality lacks a center of certification. There are no people who analyze the markets, know them very well. What are the changes in the Internet of Things market or pharmaceutical markets? Of course, we need to have such a center, such a laboratory that would collect data and analyze them. So I just want to draw your attention to the importance of such centers, because it's a sign of quality of the whole infrastructure. Thank you very much. Yes, in conclusion, we have heard very important things, and I'm very grateful to the participants of our discussion. We've come together and we have met representatives of government, business community, real economic sectors, innovative new companies and startups. And we've defined the very important mega trends of development in Russia. And we believe that the support measures by the state will promote the economic development in Russia. Thank you, all of you who have participated in our session online. I know that not only students were among the participants, but also real entrepreneurs and businessmen, and we hope that the dialogue between business community and the government will continue. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, journalists, correspondents, please come up to our panel.